Welcome to another Quantum Conversation. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. Welcome to another episode in our Quantum Conversation Summit Series, Timelines, Creating the Highest Benevolent Outcomes. Today, we are talking about the Akashic Records, the Akasha, and my guest is an expert on this subject matter and even the founder of a school that teaches practitioners how to work with the Akasha. And this is important because as we're talking timelines, this is aligning to your quantum Akasha. Let's welcome Lisa Barnett to this beautiful episode. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. It's so great to be back with you.
You have been very busy. You're the author of 4 books, beautiful books that are really what makes you the expert in this field. And so as we're talking timelines and the Akashic Records, how are those two related? Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. So to me, one of the greatest gifts of the Akashic Records is that we each have this amazing library of our whole soul's journey, which we could, of course, imagine strung out like a infinite almost timeline. And because it's part of the quantum field, that means that there is no time and space. So it is transmutable, so that we can actually go into our past life timelines, sometimes into future life timelines, this Earth timeline, sometimes it's galactic timelines, and we can see who we were, what our plan was, what gifts we have, what we wanted to share with humanity, as well as clean up those timelines. And so it is exactly really what the Akashic Record is so useful for.
That is wonderful. Okay, so cleaning up our timelines. I've been asking other presenters about their definition of what a timeline means. How do you see timelines? And when we talk about collapsing or cleaning up a timeline, that's exactly what you're doing with the Akashic Records. So can you share your definition or how you view a timeline? And from what I'm guessing is this is not just a timeline in this incarnation, but it's like the galactic timelines. It's amazing. And then this stuff does affect us. So how do you see timelines or time in this third density realm?
So when I teach my students to work with timelines, I find the easiest way to start for us humans, because we have been raised in a linear world, even though it's not the truth. But I find it easiest for us to look at from this moment, back for most of us. And so when I actually teach them how to heal and start to clear emotional pain and trauma from other lives, past life vows that we've made in other lifetimes, as well as soul contracts we have with other people, I like to look at it kind of as that simple line. But what I often see is I see the void, which starts as pure nothingness. As I move, when I do Akashic readings for clients, I'll feel like I'm in the Akashic void of their soul. And when they ask a question, that pulls in the appropriate timelines or lifetimes, whether it's this earth or other earths, whether it's their childhood from this life or other lifetimes, or sometimes timelines that we've actually projected or created out into future, right? So sitting in the void, in this beautiful energy of nothingness, and then it's almost like golden ribbons of light start to flow around me. I almost feel like I'm sitting in the middle of a big, huge, like if I was in the hollow earth, this huge earth, all the spinning ball all around me, with everything, all the lifetimes just flowing around. And then when they ask those questions, the appropriate timeline or lifetime almost pops out like a little ball. And then we can do some work around it. We can heal the trauma that maybe is blocking us from creating something in this life, where we can clear some of these vows that we've made never to share our wisdom or be the healers we came to be, or whatever it might be for you. And then those lifetimes will kind of string together energetically more in a circular or spiral type of energy. And so we can look at it either way. Both ways I think are very helpful, just kind of depending on how your mind brain tends to work at this moment.
Thank you for that visual. That feels so good. That really is transcending the mind then when you're in that space. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you see it like a spiral with past lifetimes.
Right.
So that is ultimately all affecting us in this lifetime. And I love how you said it's everything. It's the good and it's the not so good. It's our gifts and it's the embarrassing things or the shameful things or things that we're not so proud of.
Right.
So when we do our cleanup, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say all that trauma that we've all experienced, right, in so many ways. So we can really phenomenally heal trauma in the Akashic Records in this no time space quantum field.
Yes, and it's interesting because, if our gifts are there and our parallel lives and the beautiful things that we came into incarnations to do, if we have that trauma and things that are keeping us, it's that trauma that's going to prevent us from stepping into those gifts or seeing those gifts, right? So I think everyone here watching or listening wants to know what their gifts are. I mean, that's like, wouldn't you say the number one question that you get is, what's my mission? What's my soul purpose?
Yes, usually. And so, again, because we are really, 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 really ancient, it's almost like I could just say really, really, really a million times because we are so ancient. Again, I don't think our human mind can wrap itself around what it means to be an infinite soul or a truly ancient soul. I believe that we eventually kind of leave this process of being embodied and having a soul journey. And I believe that the soul eventually goes back into the unified field of one and we stop journeying about. But otherwise, we're pretty much infinite souls having these wild, lives in all dimensions in the multiverse. And so when we start to look at our purpose, I tend to look at it as the plan that your soul wrote before you embodied. And so actually one of the books I wrote last year was called Your Soul Has a Plan, because the record keepers always say the plan your soul made is your purpose. Your purpose is not a job. It's not one thing. You don't have one gift. You have probably dozens, really. So I'll see if I can hold that up and let you see that. Just so it's a beautiful kind of deep dive into understanding how we make contracts with other people to support them and to learn from them and to be the teacher for them and to share karmic patterns and to complete karmic patterns, right? So not every contract is easy. Many are around support, but even the support ones can have some karma attached, which to me is never about right or wrong or, punishment. It's always about the soul choosing to grow in a different way, in a way they haven't been able to grow before. And so we write these complex contracts to have people maybe act out in our lives. Maybe we had a parent who, had just different kinds of challenges. We have abuse patterns, we have addiction patterns, we have narcissistic patterns, we have abandonment patterns, right? All of those are patterns that we as a collective are working on right now. So we write that into our soul's plan, as well as the gifts that we've honed in hundreds of lifetimes, or those talents we really wanted to share with humanity. So the way the record keepers talk about it, obviously, if they have me write a whole book, it's not just an easy answer. But it really is the complexity of who we are and why we come, because we really all, as light workers, which I know everyone is, if you're right listening or watching, that that's a part of your path too. One of your gifts and talents is to be that light, to hold the higher vibration for humanity as we are awakening. And so it's a kind of a beautiful and crazy plan that most of us write.
I'm laughing because some of us really choose some crazy wild rides, but I love the ultimate point is that our purpose is to hold the light. And I think that resonates deeply with every single person watching. And I think it might be safe to say every person who incarnate, well, I don't know, maybe you've got a different view of this, but for the most of us, every person who incarnated, unless there's some that are so turned off in their heart that they're not aware of it. Do you think that every human, I think this is up for debate, but every human is here to hold the light or learn lessons in love? Some of us may get there, some of us may not get there, but that's still a beautiful way to be. I guess not when it harms others and creates destruction on the planet. But what do you think about that comment in your work?
Yes, absolutely. I would generally agree. I know that there are aspects of us as humans who really are here also to be the counterpoint, right?
Okay.
We need that trigger. We need the counterpoint. We often need the challenge to wake us up. It's often those challenges, it's those triggers when we realize, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
It's important for me as a person, as a human, in a body right now, to help do something about that, to do something about, whatever the destruction of the planet, of the air, of the water, of humans, so there are people who I also believe it's complicated, because I believe that many people actually planned to be the challenge, to be the abusive parent, which, of
Yeah.
course, it's hard to imagine. Like, why would someone say, yeah, I'm going to come in and be abusive? But we are so infinite. And to an infinite soul, a 60 or 80 or 100-year life is nothing, right? And so we say, if this will wake you up, if this will help you do something that will help to change or help or heal others who have had abusive relationships or parents, then I will be that for you.
Yeah.
Right? So it is actually a soul contract that two souls make. And of course, neither of us are usually aware of it during that lifetime until, maybe later, after we do a lot of our own healing work and we do a lot of forgiveness work. But part of the learning and the growth is about realizing that at the core, we truly are all souls. We are pure source energy. And so that becomes a part of the forgiveness and the compassion and the awareness, to be able to look at all those people and say, they're not just monsters. And and I'll also say it's very possible that there are some bodies on the planet that are more inhabited by monsters than by divine souls. So I
You're
believe,
not the only one who said that. Yes.
right? I believe it's way more complicated than I can figure out or imagine or even clearly channel some days. But so I think it's very complicated in this very inverted universe that we're living in. And we are deprogramming,
Yes.
unwriting. So I really see a lot of what the challenges are in the world is something that we, a long time ago, right? Partly created consciously and unconsciously. I think a lot of it came about with the fall of Atlantis and different aspects like that. And so we are the ones that are here to change it, to fix it, to unwrite the to me, it's unwriting the books, it's unwriting the Akash, right? Like you are uh, erasing and rewriting it. And it's one of the things that we do that I even teach my students to do in Akashic Self-Mastery program, to start to go again outside of time and space, whether you're seeing it as a timeline or you're seeing it as a spinning ball of light. We literally can start to release the story, the trauma that that challenge, whatever it was, maybe that happened to us, because it's always it's always happening, right? So it's always in the now, which means I can make a change now in that now that changes that life and that ripples forward, right?
Yes. Okay. Beautiful. And so this is very powerful. We can change. It's all transmutable. As the Akashic Masters say, there's nothing that's set in stone. So we can do that. That's really powerful. And all of our experiences, the lessons that we incarnated to, and then the past lives that we incarnated to clean and clear is really the name of the game then. And it's going to show us that we have the power. We have the power to do this. Now, this is where it gets fun, Lisa. Let's do a little process or however long you need to go into our personal journey. So, on a group session, we can do that, right? Tell us what we're going to do.
Absolutely. So I will bring everybody into the Akashic Records with me. We'll do just kind of a brief guided visualization to drop you, into your heart, and then create this connection into your Akashic Records. And so we will create this group energy of connection to this collective Akash. And so from that space, because we're also calling in and inviting in each person's record keepers. So just my explanation and version, right, is that everyone has a library of the millions of lives they've lived, and they have a whole team of librarians who we call the record keepers. And so they are just yours. Every person has their own library and their own team of librarians. And so we're going to call them in this guided visualization and invite them to assist us in clearing what is up to be released. And so I never know, really. We'll bring the energy together, and then I know we'll go outside of time and space into some other lifetimes, and release some old traumas and maybe unwrite some vows and contracts that are holding us back. And it's so powerful because as we do this as a group, right, we're working with hundreds or thousands of people's Akash and in their records, so that we're really making a big dent in unraveling some of these collective programs that have been on the planet for really, the last 12,000, 40,000 lifetime, or 40,000 years. So,
That's powerful. I know that some people are going to want to, so many people say this, what can we do on a personal level for the collective and war and these sorts of behaviors. So this is what we can do, right? Do we put our intention on that or just see what shows up?
Yeah, so the way I'll do it is I'll bring everybody into the records and then I will hear what the record keepers, kind of this collective group of record keepers, will give me information and I'll let you know what they're wanting us to work on. So I'll kind of just tell you what they're doing and we're connecting with our record keepers. And some people may even see the beings of light that keep your records. You may feel it just as an energy. Many people just feel like they're wrapped in pure love because that is what it is. It's pure source energy. We're in source, we're in the quantum, we're in really pure love. And so that in its own right is an amazing healing and help to unwrite, untangle, release a lot of these energies. So we'll just see what they want to work on, and I'll tell you as we kind of go through it. I know it's interesting because we touched just a little bit on a couple of things, but there are some really big old slavery patterns I keep hearing that are coming up to also be worked on. And I think it's important because, people are all around the world and, we have so many levels of enslavement still going on, even consciously and unconsciously, right? Even the huge imbalance, even between men and women, between different races, between sometimes it's young and old. It can be all these different aspects of imbalance. But what the record keepers are talking about is that there's a part of the old patterns of enslavement that are connected to these imbalances. So it feels almost like we're getting into an interesting kind of root cause of imbalance. Right?
Wow. And as we have been talking about sovereignty and what that means, it means us standing on our own 2 feet. And when you were sharing about that, I mean, it's fascinating between the young and old enslavement and also corporations and employees, that whole thing, we can see it. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, beautiful. So let's go.
Okay, so let's, if you can, sit back and close your eyes. I like to have my feet on the ground because the record keepers often will say that when we can really ground down into the body, then the body feels safe and it's easier for us to really expand more fully as that infinite soul. So we can be more expansive as a soul when the body feels safe, which is again another phenomenal reason for grounding. So let's just start with our eyes closed and just take a nice breath as we drop down into our heart chakra, our fourth chakra, heart. And we invite our soul to come down more fully present into our physical body, really dropping down into our heart, all the way down into our lower torso and hips, dropping down into our legs and feet. Let's run some nice grounding roots from our feet all the way down deep into Gaia. And I like to do a tripod grounding system with a grounding tail also all the way down to the core of Gaia. And we just ask for Gaia's assistance in staying grounded and present in our body, keeping our bodies feeling safe as we do this expansive work today. And then just breathing again into our heart, creating a more expanded sacred heart. So inviting our fourth chakra to open and expand a little further. I like to invite my high heart, my spiritual heart, our spiritual heart, which is up by the thymus, to open and expand a little further. And this way, our high heart and our fourth chakra become a beautiful spinning ball of light and energy. And I like to bring the physical heart in, creating this triangulation of these heart centers, these 3 heart centers in your body. And that beautiful energy expands even further as we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help us relay our multi-dimensional hearts open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest truth we can access now. Support us in healing and releasing that which no longer serves on our true path. We give great thanks for your divine love and support on this journey today. Just taking a few deep breaths as we invite the Akashic Record Keepers to create a beautiful column of energetic light and protection all around us, all around the planet, because we're scattered all over the world. And we invite our personal record keepers to come more fully present, just taking a moment to say hello to your record keepers, just noticing what you notice. Many of us as empaths and sensitives will feel the energy as it shifts even higher into the Akasha, into this beautiful divine quantum field. And so the record keepers are suggesting that we do some work on the, I'll go back more energetically, timelines on this planet for the moment. And then it feels like we're going to go off planet with some of this work. But they want to start really interestingly, very, I'm going to say very recent in around, and this will be a little different for different people, but this feels like 1700s, 1800s, even early 1900s energy. And these are lifetimes where we have had slaves, where we have been landowners that have held contracts with slaves in this earthly plane, earthly realm. Especially for many of us in the United States, I feel landowners in some of the Caribbean lands in the south of the US. And we just want to release any old contracts that we had, energetic contracts that we wrote before we even came into those lives and bodies, contracts that we wrote when we bought the slaves, energetic contracts we may have had as soul to soul with these beautiful beings of light. And so we want to burn actually all of these contracts. Fire is a phenomenal way to transmute energy. So that will let us burn the contracts, release the energy, and really source can recycle it for the highest good of all. So any lifetime, either side of the coin, where we were the slave or we were the slave owner, we want to burn all of those contracts. We want to clear, release, delete any of the emotional pain and trauma that we experienced in those lives, especially as the slaves. And some of them, they're also saying, even in Europe, people were maybe not considered slaves, but they may have been indentured servants in a way. Maybe they were held energetically in different kinds of bondage. Even there's probably a name for it, but it would almost be like there was only one place to work in the whole town because the town was owned by the wealthy family. And so you had to work for the family or work on the family's land or work in the family's shops or work processing the family's whatever. And so even all of that energy, of course, anyone who's kind of watched Downton Abbey, you even see that in those lives pretty recently, right? That's why they're coming all the way into the 1900s. So releasing all of those contracts, all of those patterns, they're really patterns of ways of being with, of course, I mean, imbalance in such extreme ways, right? Of money, of power, of status. And so they're really, this, what I'm seeing is just, I'll often see these kind of patterns and programs, almost like if you were looking at a big tapestry, and each one of us has, you know, a thread or two. But with this, what they're talking about, it's a lot more than just, you know, one or two threads. What they're telling me is that most of us in these last 500 years, so, you know, 1900, 18, 17, 16, 1500, going all the way back, right? We kind of look at that timeline as it's laid out. Most of us have at least one, if not three, four, even five lives in these realms in different ways. I see myself in one life as a slave in the Caribbean. I have a lot of interesting kind of Caribbean lives, but also as a slave owner in the South in the 1800s, and as more of a indentured servant, for lack of a better word for it, in England. And that was more around that 1700s also. Interesting, you know, as well as a whole nother batch of lives pops up. All those lives we got killed for being healers or witches, right? They're kind of overlaid, but different patterns. So we'll go back and get that one later. But I want to keep on this. Obviously, the slave pattern feels so important because it's so much underneath the imbalance in our world in every way. So, so we're just, the record keepers, your record keepers are helping us to clear, to burn the contracts, to burn any vows where we vowed never to do that again or be that again or share our light or be seen. And again, many of these lives, we were killed or beaten or hurt, really harmed terribly as slaves in these lives. So we're clearing the emotional pain and the physical pain and all of that trauma from these lifetimes also. So they're just kind of working on this whole energy of that 500 years of 1500 to the present. Any place on the planet, there's many other places they haven't even named. I'm obviously seeing them go all the way over to, you know, often when the slaves were taken in other countries. in Africa and other countries. And so all of that trauma and death. And sorry, didn't know we're going that dark today, but feels super useful. So that's all good. And it's exciting as I've worked on these programs and the imbalances in the world. This is literally the first time they've taken me back to this kind of core trauma story, core energy of this, some of this imbalance. And we're just they're wanting to just we're going to jump in kind of these 500-year swaths of time. So we'll go from 1000 to 1500 again. Different areas sometimes of the world, they're taking us back. I mean, of course, at that point, you know, Europe was in the Dark Ages. We also had ancient kind of Persia and the Middle East and some interesting enslavement energies going on there. I know we always so they're just hearing through all of those all around the world. And they're jumping back from really 0 to 1000, you know, AD. If you look at that, there was a lot less people on the planet. So, in some ways, but there was such imbalance again between men and women, between hierarchies, between religions, beliefs. When we even look back at kind of more ancient China and ancient India, right? Caste systems that we had. And so that goes even further back. And so we're just continuing to go back because most of us have had at least 600, 800 lives on Earth alone, which means that you've had many lives. Sometimes we have more than one life happening in, you know, a timeline, right? So you might have had two bodies back there, you know, happening at the same time. It's possible that you could have been a slave and a slave owner in different continents usually, but at the same time in history. And they're showing me building interesting of different pyramids. Some of them, like they're showing me the Mayan, some of the Mayan pyramids and buildings and huge sites, huge cities. Again, they say that a lot of it was built by enslaving other peoples and bringing them to build these temples. And this is thousands of years ago. My poor pup, if you hear a little bit of howling, I have a 17-year-old pup who sometimes just gets a little dementia, a little lost. And so you might hear her, but she's okay. Yes. Sending her as well as everyone love and just letting yourself feel the light and the love in your hearts as we do this really deep, expansive healing around slavery, really for the last, I'm looking at, you know, 10, 12,000 years, all the way back to the flood, really. And then I'm just going to ask the record keepers to go really back off planet into some of the original, really ancient plans, really the programming, the idea that that creating humans to enslave, to really do work, to whether we were mining golds for others, or they were using our energy, our trauma, our pain, our emotional pain as food. I feel that so much of all of this is truth. A little harder to track in the galactic Akash, but for the purpose on unwriting these slavery contracts, we'll just have our record keepers. Again, it's like going into a different timeline. This is where I see it more in the quantum void of the spinning energies. And again, it's almost like the spiral. It's kind of following that timeline spiraling down, or back, or out, however you might picture those things, just going back and asking to release and burn the original soul contract you ever had or held with any being, to be enslaved, to allow for that enslavement program to be implanted in our body, implanted in our records, right? Implanted in our reality, wherever that reality is, because there's so many, right? So many worlds, different collective groups, utilizing Earth and humanity. I'm seeing about 5 different kind of planets, timelines, contracts that are burning off for everyone. Now, if you feel the heat of the flame, just know that it is so divinely orchestrated, releasing all of these old contracts to free ourselves, to truly step into the sovereignty, into pure freedom as divine souls. Oof. Oh, it's all slowing down. Beautiful. And we ask our record keepers to fill us up with all the highest Akashic light and wisdom throughout this whole quantum Akashic galactic field, replacing any and all of those contracts, any emotional pain, any trauma with our highest Akashic energy, our highest wisdom and love and light that we can now hold because we've released these old contracts, these old patterns. And so I see our record keepers literally almost like wrapping us in golden baby blankets is what it looks like. And we ask the record keepers to put a time release bubble around us that we may integrate this new pure energy with ease and grace over the next 4 or 5 days, so that we can just let it integrate into our body, really integrate it in and out into the Akash, really expanding these whole huge timelines with light, and knowing it is done, and so it is. And we thank the record keepers, and we close and lock the records for now. And so it is. Then just let's take a few nice breaths again back into our sacred heart center. Letting yourself Come back. Oh.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that journey. That was very cleansing. I could feel the healing in that of so many patterns. And I know it's different for everyone, but isn't it interesting as you were going through what you were sensing and seeing? I was seeing so many different versions for myself, and it really resonated. And zooming out, looking at the whole pattern, I saw a pattern for myself on authority, having trouble with authority, not wanting to be the authority over others. So that was very interesting for me, Lisa. Very, very healing. So integration then is something to be very aware of as well. Or what would you say that we do as we integrate?
Absolutely, because I mean, we're looking at tens of thousands, really. I'm going to say, even if we're just looking at the last 100,000 or so, years, um, tons of water, of course, naps. I love to soak in a nice Epsom salt bath or an apple cider vinegar bath. Hugging trees is such a great way, again, to be grounded. And
Yeah.
so, one of the things I love to do is um, to be in nature, whether you're leaning against a tree or you're hugging a tree or you're just sitting on your deck. It's all perfect, but just inviting all the highest light and energy of you to continue to fill you. And I like to see that beautiful golden Akashic, really the soul light of you filling your feet and all the way up and just filling the body and spilling over, filling your whole auric field, just letting yourself feel so full. Really, to me, that is one of the ways to be the sovereign and to hold that space is by literally filling myself with my highest soul and Akashic energy, body, energy field, auric field, and then just knowing that this is who I am. And I can walk through the world and I can be guided and guarded and protected as I'm in the earth because I am a sovereign, really solidly filled with my energy, my beautiful high Akashic vibration. So I'm going to grab her pup really quick and just bring her over to say hi.
Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Feeling liberated. That's another word. Liberation. Oh, hello, puppy.
My little old pup, she is, and it's so interesting. So she's going on 17.
Wow.
She is part of my original soul family. She has been by my side through all this work and she's like weirdly healthy except for blind. So we occasionally will hear her in the background.
And Zoom has beautiful filters, so we just heard a small little bit. It was not disturbing at all.
Oh, good,
And
good.
she's
Yeah,
actually doing some sort of sound therapy helping us.
she's just,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
They are. They're just funny little blasts of sound. She's not barking or crying. She's just, like, hello.
Assisting the Akashic Masters, actually. So cute, precious. What's her name?
Zeze, Zeze. They're just a funny
Easy.
little otherworldly name from another lifetime. And so, yeah, he's my little soul partner. Yeah.
Oh, precious. All right. That is so cute. Thank you for sharing her. Zizi. Okay. Well, this is really tremendous work that we did today. The patterns that we all cleared shows us the incredible power that we have. And so to be in this light, to be in our column of light, to be connected to our Akashic masters, our own Akashic librarians, is really vital. And it really is expansive for our own personal journeys. So it really is a beautiful technique that you've developed that you share with the world. You train teachers how to take this out into the world. You've got a school, Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. And you also have a way for listeners who are checking us out today to work with you and to learn more. So tell us about your special offer. I invite our listeners and viewers to scroll down on this webpage. You'll see all the information there. But Lisa, this is interesting. This is learning to access our own quantum Akashic records. Fascinating. This is for every one of us. We can all do this.
Absolutely. So many, many years ago, the record keeper said, it is everyone's birthright to have access into the Akashic field. And I said, well, how come nobody knows about it then? Remember 30 years ago, people were not very conscious. 40 years ago, people were not conscious of the Akasha. And so I said, well, why? What's wrong? And they said, it's because really we pull the energy away. The record keepers pull the vibration of the Akashic field away from the earth because during the dark ages, we misused the energy. So they said, it's time to bring it back. Please help us re-anchor it onto the planet by teaching it, by starting a school, by sharing this wisdom, by writing these books, right? By speaking on beautiful summits like Lauren's. And so that's really, what I've been doing for the last 30 years. And they have given me what I call a 5-step wisdom prayer system. So it's a very simple, clear process. It's not abstract like, well, you meditate and hopefully, I have been given actually a total of 8 kind of galactic star seeds access prayers to help all different star seeds to access the Akashic records. Now, in the very first course, to not confuse the heck out of everybody, I teach 3 starseed access prayers. So you have a choice to, where am I from? What do I feel, when I use this access prayer? And so it's a beautiful process that I teach to take you into your records using an access key in the form of a sacred prayer, to start to ask questions of your record keepers, to build this communication, to start to dive deep into understanding what's in your records. So during the course we do, it's a 12-hour course because I believe this is profound work and it really, it deserves the time, to learn to do it. And so we do exercises. I teach a variety of other tools the record keepers have given me, like Rainbow Shield, to be more grounded and the sovereign of your body, how to call back your energy, how to start to release some of the old pain and trauma, and do forgiveness work with 7 healing prayers. So there is a lot of information, of course, the record keepers have given me over 30 years, and a ton in this really 12+ hour workshop so that you can learn to access your personal Akashic library and start to see your own timelines, understand who you've been in these different lives. What gifts have you honed in all of these different lifetimes? And, I felt really what you said, Lauren, was very profound, that experience you were having of this pattern of not stepping into your authority. And these things will often come from past life vows and the trauma and experience where we vow to never be that or do that again, because possibly at the end of our lives, we're actually ashamed of ourselves. We're like, I can't believe I had 100 people, enslaved to me. I will never do that again. And that is actually a past life vow, which also may make you feel like, I'm never going to step into my power again. And so all of these kind of facets and aspects are what keep many of us as light workers from stepping into really our own gifts, our talents, our power, into really being the empowered souls that we came to be. So learning to access your Akashic records, I really teach about all of this so we can heal ourselves. And as we're healing ourselves, of course, we're in the quantum field of source. As we're pulling our threads, as we're releasing our pain, that is actually happening for other people in your soul family, for other people who you have these contracts and vows with, past lives with. So it's not just you and one thread, it really ripples out and can dismantle a whole tapestry or really take down an old program. And that's what we need to do to create the new earth.
So beautiful. Thank you. This is actually because, as you were sharing, there are so many, I see that with many light workers, like, why can I not step up? And it's because of situations and patterns. You've nailed it. I like that word pattern. It's, experiences, past life experiences, that's one thing, but the patterns that are embedded in our cells, in our genetics, is what keeps us from stepping fully onto our path, into our journey. This is almost like Lightworker Course 101, right? Where it's important to take this so that we can be clear, that we can be clean, that we can hold our light and shine it no matter what. No distortions, no distractions anymore. Perfectly clear channels. And this is what that work does as we're rewriting and actually unraveling. We are unraveling from those patterns. I felt that today. I know many others did as well. Even for those who didn't, there's still visions that may have come up that will come up over the next few days as we integrate this. I know that because this was very helpful today, Lisa. So thank you, because our world has shifted. And so we can embark on a course like this and use it to, again, not only help ourselves, but help the collective. Many are like, what can we personally do for our planet? Well, this is the work. This is it. And it's wonderful. So this is for every person, right? It meets everybody where they're at. And is it recorded? It's all online?
Yes, 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 absolutely. So, a lot of people, just and you can go back and do it again and again and repractice and go deeper, right? Because for some people they get it really quickly, and some people it might take a little bit more time. You might want to listen to all the replays and really keep going, back again. So however it works, we have to meet ourselves where we are, right? Some people have a lot of experience working with their clairs, and they already feel very clear, cognizant or clairvoyant or clairsentient, whatever it might be. But some of us are actually working on even opening those clairs, and you can do that in the Akashic Records. And I talk about that, in the class, about how doing some of these processes the record keepers have given us will help us to open and to really align and to become more present. And all of that is very important and powerful, even in activating some of these gifts. So it's a beautiful 5-step wisdom prayer system. And it really will take you through learning to read your own records. And, to me, it's like, again, it's important to become our own guide, to let your soul guide you, because there's so much information in the world and it can be so confusing, right? Easy to fall down a rabbit hole and to get stuck in some, horrifying story, or, it can just really trigger a lot of emotional trauma and fear in us. And that's not useful. So allowing yourself, your soul, to be your guide, your record keepers to be your guide, allows you to know who you are and why you came, and really step into the alignment of the soul plan that your soul wrote before you embodied, and not just, get trapped in somebody else's story. So be the sovereign of your life and come to understand your soul plan, and it will really support you.
That is so beautiful. I love it. It really is important at this time with so much information, so much going on, different theories about this, about that. But we know what we know within, and this is the portal to it. It's beautiful work that you're sharing with the planet. You are definitely using your soul gifts. You were probably a writer and so much more, a writer and a teacher and a master and an engineer and all of it. So thank you, Lisa Barnett. This has been an amazing program today. We feel the shift within. We are free and liberated from patterns today that no longer serve us. And so welcoming in the new for New Earth, we can feel it even more. And for that, I am forever grateful for you. And I'm grateful for all those who are joining us to receive this information and to apply it in your life. Again, check out this program from Lisa Barnett. She has it available at a really good price. Oh my gosh, 12 hours with all the support that's there. You can listen to the replays. If you need assistance with this, there's a 2-payment plan because we want this to be easy for you. It's an investment in your soul. It's a reconnection to your soul. And it's a wonderful skill in life to master as you meet your soul in that very personal way and align with your soul and quantum source. So thank you, Lisa, for this offering. It really is very welcome and needed at this time on our planet. Your work is tremendous. You're doing tremendous things and expanding in your own work. That's exciting. So as we say goodbye, I'd like to leave you with that vision of New Earth. When you see New Earth, does that look good to you? What does that look like?
Very exciting. I can't wait. you know, I literally, as you say that, I see unicorns riding over the hills. I see kind of almost sparkles in the air, like such clarity and purity, and just the energy of the earth and the trees, just being able to almost start to see auras of the living, all the living beings, the trees and the plants and the animals around us. I really see the new earth glowing in kind of this gorgeous way, and I know we are on that path.
Yes, we are on that path. And as we've learned that New Earth is a frequency, and by doing this Akashic knowing work, that raises our frequency, that elevates us to that frequency as we release the old. So thank you for your tremendous work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. Namaste. Thank you for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.